What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about MicroStrategy today. We're going to go over some short-term price predictions, mid-term price predictions, stuff like that, where I expect MicroStrategy to be by the end of this move. Hint, hint, it's about $1,000 or more. That's the gist of it. You don't even have to watch this video anymore, but hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, my friends. Here we go. So looking at the charts, diving in head first here, we're at about $379, which is pretty damn phenomenal considering that last week we closed at prices at $340. We're already up about $40 this week to start the week, up 11% just to start the week. Beautiful move. This move last week convinced me that that was the low, but as we've moved up higher this week, that's validating, very validating that is the low. And it's not much volume, it's not above average volume, but it is still increasing volume, right? Some of the most volume that we've seen actually since December, is that the 20th? Yeah, December 20th. Yesterday on Monday, or today, I guess Monday, was some of the most volume we've seen since the 20th of December, even though it is not above average. So throughout this kind of whole range, it makes sense that we're getting some bullish moves here when we're dealing with some of the most volume we've seen throughout this whole range. Anyways, looking at the high to low, and that does to me cement more the idea that this is the low. It looks like also we're not getting this implied little inverse head and shoulders down here that we were looking for, or anything like that. But looking at this here from a high to a low, you went above your 382, and it's very common most times to go above your 382 and pull back to the 236, right? But oftentimes when you do that, you go above the 382 and then close below it. The fact that you closed above it sets you up for this thing where you might find support and continue immediately up to the 618, or maybe you consolidate for a little bit and then you move up higher than that. But I would suspect that soon, whether it's immediately tomorrow or sometime later this week, or definitely by next week, I would assume that we're up at these areas and beyond. So 424 to 444, that is the next target area. Being that that's the golden ratio, that's the obvious area. Okay, I very much do expect you find some resistance there. You probably go there, you find resistance, pull back to that $400 area, $390 area, and then move up from there. Very common thing to do in the fibs, okay? Very healthy thing to do. It's not a bad thing to form higher lows, I promise you. And not only that, the golden ratio here on the fibs, it makes sense to find resistance there, but if we close this out, you're also finding resistance right here at previous areas of resistance. So that's the golden ratio. The top of that bubble is right here at previous areas of resistance. It makes sense to do that, in my opinion, for multiple reasons. In the event that you go above this area and you just shoot past it, I don't suspect that we would just move immediately to new all-time highs, though anything's possible. I would suspect that, and especially because this is backed by Bitcoin, crypto, I mean, anything's possible, but $504, $473 would be the maximum expectation that I could see you seeing in a very, very short amount of time, like by the end of this week, maybe by the end of next week, right, stuff like that. By the end of next week, you actually could be at even higher targets than this, but for your next, relative move, but genuinely, I do think you find significance at that 440 area, something like that. Pull back a little bit to about 390, 400, and then move on up. When you get above $504, okay, that's the key area to watch. When you get above $504, that's how you know it's time for new all-time highs. And that might sound rather obvious. All-time highs are at 543. 504 is very close to that. But genuinely, the 886 is kind of that last gatekeeper. When you get a day or a week, whatever time frame that's significant, to close above the 886, that opens you up to the 1272 to the 1618, the primary target zone. Being that this is a relatively small fib retracement too, right? I mean, if we're looking at this overall range here, we're measuring for the fib from this high to this low. Based off this move, this is a pretty small fib, right? Compared to this move here, it's a small consolidation range. So all I'm getting at is with small consolidation phases, you generally can look past the primary zone and move right on to the secondary zone, which is the 2618 to the 1886, to be completely fair. So the 1618 to the 1272 is the primary target zone. I suspect we find some significance in here. We might go right through the 1272 to the 1414, find support on the 1272, move up to the 1618. Maybe we move through it and then find support on it. I don't know. Maybe we just blast through this whole area, but I would expect that there is, between one of these lines, or at least somewhere in this area, we probably find a little bit of turbulence. But all in all, it's not going to stop us, right? It's just like this. If we're looking at this here, you might have found a little bit of turbulence here or a little bit of turbulence here, but the real place that you stopped was all the way up here. The real place that this move is going to stop, in my opinion, is going to be the secondary zone, the 1886 206 to the 2618, and those targets are anywhere from a minimum of $961 to $1,540. Now, this is not my cycle ending prediction for MicroStrategy. This is just my next move prediction. This might be the second to last move, significant move, exploring new all-time highs that MicroStrategy has before its end of cycle, because I do suspect if it's not the second to last move, then it's the third to last move. We either have one more significant move after this move that we're currently in, or two more. All right, because again, if you think about it, if this is the area we're going to, if this is one move, how many more moves do you have? You're already at $1,000, $2,000. How many more moves do you have? This thing's not going to be worth $10,000 by the end of the cycle. Maybe it is, but probably not more than $5,500 is my kind of high expectation. Anyways, secondary target area that I would expect, 961, 1,540. Makes sense to me. Most likely you'd probably see something between 1,200 and this lower target, something in there. It's a target, it's a possibility, 1,540. It should be considered and even accepted as a possibility, right? If you don't consider it or accept it, you'll miss it, right? You'll always miss the top if you can't even consider it, right? But I personally don't think it's going to happen. I think we do stop at about $1,230, if not around $1,000 by the end of February. If not by the end of January, but personally I think it's going to happen sometime in February is kind of my expectation. And, we'll see going forward. But it looks like it's starting now. It definitely looks like it's starting now. Getting above the 382 from this high to low is nice. Getting above the 50 here is nice. Bouncing off of this same area that you found support all this time is good as well. We haven't really broken out of this downtrend, but I suspect we will. If we can get readings above the 60, that would be very encouraging for MicroStrategy. And then, of course, again, the area to watch, two key areas to watch, I suppose, would be closing above $425, getting a day or multiple days, really multiple days to close above $425, and then any day to close above $504. $505 would be exciting as well. That means that we're going to see these new all-time highs in a very short amount of time. You close above 425. The reason it's exciting is it more cements this low as the low, which means that you probably will see highs, new highs. Breaking above 505, however, is exciting because that means you're on the road to seeing new highs rather immediately, right? And you might cross both those barriers in the same day. I don't know how it's going to look, but I suspect that we are going higher over the days, over the weeks. Don't be discouraged if we pull back a little bit. We're at 379. You could pull back to 364. You could even pull all the way back down to 333. Don't be discouraged if we do that, okay? Only be discouraged if we close really below like 330. If we close a day below 330, okay, then maybe a little bit of discouragement. We're probably going to go down below 260, 270, something like that at that rate, but I doubt we do. Closing above 425 is exciting. Closing above 505 is more exciting, and then new all-time highs from there are the most exciting stuff. So I got nothing else for you guys. Maybe we can look at the ribbon. Look at the ribbon real quick. MSTR, daily, bullish. That's bullish as hell, man, right? Super bullish. Let's see if we can find something to compare it to. Kind of, but not really, right? End of cycle stuff. Maybe not on MicroStrategy, kind of like this. This would be really what I would compare it to, something like this right here, and then look at what it started. That's kind of what I would compare it to personally, but different. It's different. This is kind of different compared to that, but this is iconic to me. It looks very healthy, very bullish. Ribbon is contracting, nice and tight contraction, bottomed below the ribbon, and now you're seeing this rapid kind of propelling above it. Closing above it is nice. Getting away from it is nicer. Getting it to expand is the best, okay? Looking at the 3-day time frame, or maybe the weekly because it's a stock. Tipping the ribbon, also a really good look. And then on a monthly time frame, beautiful. Just not even touching it, not even looking back, man. You're going places. So awesome, looking good on all fronts. I got nothing else for you guys. If you like the content, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. Based on the weekly RSI, I would expect that within the next, probably if not by the end of this week, by the end of next week, we would likely be at prices above 440. If not by the end of this week, sometime, I wouldn't even say by the end of next week. If not by the end of this week, sometime during next week. Not by the end. By the end, I think we could be at new all-time highs, but during next week, we'll be above 440. We're at 380 now, so it's happening soon. If not higher, we could be a lot higher by next week, but it's happening now. If your questions are, should I buy? The answer is you should have bought yesterday, you should have bought the day before, you should have bought last week, right? Not a financial advisor, not financial advice, but I would give it the green light here. I definitely think MicroStrategy is a good buy here at 379, especially when we're considering targets that are up around $900 to $1,500, more likely around $900 to $1,200 realistically. But that's it, guys. That's really all I got for you. So take care. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.